Hello and welcome to the From the Finney podcast with me, Jake.
Me, Dan.
Me, Pilks.
So in this episode, the three of us, I say three, it should be four, but someone bailed last minute. We're going to have a look back through the season today and we're going to go over the month of October and how that's been for Alex, Neil and the boys. So yeah, enjoy. How are you doing, lads? You good?
Yeah, not bad.
Not so bad.
Still riding high after the weekend.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah,
Very much so.
I mean, it was what a turnaround. I mean, it's, like Dan says, still on cloud nine from that one. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Pilks, thanks very much for coming on.
No, you're welcome. Thanks for having me, Jake. Cheers.
It's been, a few months in the making?
I know, we said we were going to get us on for a bit, but finally got round to it.
Keep running into you in Spa and in the pub.
Yeah, never on North End, actually. It's always
it isn't, is it?
Places around Preston.
But yeah, we're finally here. So season to date, I mean, obviously it's been pretty good. Can't complain. 3 months in, we're sat second in the table. Leading goal scorers in the league. One of, if not the best home record in the league. And I think if you'd have offered this to any North End fan at the start of the season, pretty much all of them would have snapped your hand off.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I was looking back over our prediction piece the other day just to see what I'd predicted, actually, because I forgot. But and I don't think any of us had us down from anything much more than a mid-table fight.
I think because we had Bob from Preston Updates, Ollie from Deep Dale Digest, and obviously the three of us all did one, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I think me and Ollie were the two that had us highest. I think I had us 8th and Ollie had us 9th, or the other way around.
Mm.
But did you have any sort of preconceptions coming into the season, Pilks? Or?
Well, no, I mean, it's like what Dan said there. I mean, yeah, we're going into the season with the squad we've got. I mean, you only lost Robinson, didn't you, in the summer? And I mean, bringing Bauer and a few others in, I thought that going into this season we were definitely stronger than the previous season. But yeah, I mean, they've bypassed my expectations so far. I mean, you just want to. I don't want to get too carried away. That's what I mean.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Now, I mean, yeah, we've had a superb start, but the thing that I always look at is if they can get through the festive period, it's December and into the new year, and you're still thereabouts, that's when I'd start getting a little bit excited. And if the injuries hold off as well, if so far so good, touch wood, not any injuries this season, long-term jobs. But yeah, I mean, the new year, if we're still thereabouts, then I'd start to get excited then. Yeah,
I think the only long-term injury, and even that, although saying that he's not back yet, is Tom Clark.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely. But because he's not first choice at the moment, you got obviously Bauer and Davis there. Then we're not missing him as much because touchwood, like I said, we've not had any injuries where we've had to call on Tom Clark or Huntington, have we, for that matter?
No, and obviously Clark, he was sort of playing a mix of like right back and centre back, and they're not really positions that were short of options, are we?
Mm. Yeah, exactly. I love Tom Clark and I love Huntington. They're both legends, but they're not getting any younger, are they?
No, that's
people now about Story that they're all ahead of them in the selection, aren't they? So I think they're just going to play limited games until they eventually move on, unfortunately, now.
Yeah, I think, is Clark out of contract in the summer as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Is he down? Yeah,
it's him and a few others. I know Rudd is as well, isn't he?
Yeah, well, that's going to be interesting, that Rudd, isn't it?
Yeah.
Summer. I mean, Neil, obviously, from past experiences at Norwich and stuff, where he shifted in there.
Mm.
He might look at shifting Rudd.
Mm.
It's something that Ollie's sort of mentioned quite a bit. I don't know if maybe on the pod or maybe if it was just to me. But Neil, wherever he's been, I can't say wherever he's been, but especially at Norwich, has had issues with keepers, if you will. Not issues as in falling outs or anything like that, but it's always seemed to have been a problem position for him to get sorted.
Yeah, I think when he makes his mind up on a keeper, he sort of freezes them out of the club. He forces them out. It's a bit of a pattern that emerged with him. But I mean, we obviously trust him and stuff, and whatever he wants to do, we sort of back, don't we? But yeah, it is one of those with the keepers. I think with Neil, he does sort of tend to force them out after a bit if he doesn't like them.
Yeah, like it happened with Maxwell. It seems to be in the middle of happening with Ripley now.
Which is an odd one.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Ripley's a strange one with Stockley as well. I mean, Ripley and Stockley are both Neil signings, and to say they're out of favour with him is an understatement. He had Hudson on the bench at the weekend. I know that was to do with having to have a youth team player on the bench, but Ripley and Stockley can't get anywhere near the starting 11, can they?
No, and I think that's quite damning. As well as Jayden played on Saturday. It says a lot about what Neil thinks about him. For I think 2 or 3 games now, he's not even made the bench.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? Really strange.
But yeah, I think can't really say too much against the start of the season. To be honest, it's been good.
Yeah. I think like Pilks alluded to, it's very difficult as a North End fan to trust the injury situation as a whole. So I mean, I will also. Try to reserve my excitement at least.
Yeah.
Until the pack starts to separate. But
that's one thing we've spoken about quite a bit, isn't it, on the last couple of episodes.
Yeah.
That if we can sort of still be in and around that top 8, top 10 when it starts to break away, because inevitably it will. And still give ourselves a chance of challenging for something, whether it's the top 6 or the top 2, then I think with the current squad we've got, the manager we've got, I'd back us to go and do something.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, another fact you got to think about as well, obviously coming after Christmas, is the transfer window. I mean, if we're clever there and we keep all the key players, I don't expect us to sell any key players in January. The worry with that will be the summer. But if we strengthen in January, and I know we keep saying it every January, will the owner back the manager and stuff? I mean, this is the time to do it. I know, again, that's another thing we say every January, but surely to God, being thereabouts in the new year, the injuries haven't struck, go out and do it then and get us the Premier League.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have. That's the thing as well. It doesn't have to be, not a shitload of signings, but it doesn't have to be sort of 5, 6, 7 players coming in.
Yeah, our strength is 1 or 2 particular ones.
Exactly.
Just well placed signings.
100%.
I mean, for me, if we were saying 2 signings, for me it'd be a centre forward and a goalkeeper.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah. Well, this is what I mean. Rudd and Ripley, we're just making do with, aren't we?
Yeah.
Needs exactly 2 positions strengthening. Goalkeeper with Ripley or Rudd moving out. Obviously, it's probably going to be Rudd with him being out of contract in the summer. And then, I don't know, 2 or 3 million on a striker. It's not too much to ask for with the money we've made in the past few transfer windows on selling some of our best players. So,
considering as well, we've agreed what could eventually turn out to be a record deal for Tom Bayliss.
Yeah,
can't even get in the squad at the minute. If you can go out and get a striker or a wide player, a centre forward, someone that can come in and just add something at the top end of the pitch, and go out and spend $1 million, $1.5 million, £2 million on him. But if it pays off, then it's a small price to pay, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think with Bayliss at the moment, they're not rushing him and stuff because obviously he's a young lad, but I think that the central midfield area, and particularly the sort of central defensive midfield area, is one of our strongest departments, if you will. And there's maybe 4 or 5, if not 6 players that can play there. So with Bayliss, I think this is going to sort of bide his time, probably gradually ease him in. He'll play some cup games a lot.
Yeah, I think he'll get treated a lot like Story did last season.
Yeah, I've spoken to a couple of people who've voiced concerns about Bayliss, and they're like, "Oh, is he good enough?" And I'm not worried about him not being in the team yet. at all.
It's too early to say, though, isn't it? Like you just said, Phillips, he's only like, what, 19, 20, 21?
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what they'll do with Story, I think, unless, touch wood again, we don't have a ridiculous injury crisis where 3 or 4 or 5 central defensive midfield players get injured and then he has to get rushed in there. You know, like Story did, he sort of came into the side because of an injury crisis, didn't he, last season? So
Yeah.
He did well, but, you know, if the squad was fit, we may not have seen him as much at the back end of last season. But
yeah, no, it's. Yeah. I'm writing a piece on the January window at the minute, so that hopefully be out next week or two. But yeah, October started pretty underwhelming, I think, is probably a good word to describe start of the month with Borough away. For me, on paper, it was a bit like the Millwall one. I think, in my opinion, it should have been 3 points, considering they weren't playing well at that moment in time. To be honest, I don't think they are now. The manager was under pressure. We played them on the back of a 4-1 spanking that they got from Wednesday. But we were pretty shit, to be fair, on the night, and we were lucky to come away with a draw. So it's one of them.
Yeah, I was happy with the point after how we played. But it was just, I think we mentioned at the time that it was a little bit like last season where we seemed to be scraping by, but we handed the opposition a stupid way back into the game, and then never got ourselves back.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's going off what Jake and you as well, Dan said. I mean, it's when we played them, it was an ideal time to play them, wasn't it? The managers under pressure. They come off the back of a couple of bad. Got beat a couple of times, but the way the game went, we soaked up some massive periods of pressure and stuff. And in the end, we were probably lucky to get out of there with a draw. But
I mean, the goal itself, I'd say we were probably unlucky to concede.
Yeah, it was a little bit fortunate, but ours was a little bit fortunate as well, wasn't it? You could say.
True.
So it's sort of swings around about, evens itself out, doesn't it? I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, there's worse ways to start the month.
I mean, it's probably the only thing Rafty's done visibly wrong, covering for Hughes, was being beaten so easily for Borough's equaliser.
I think the Swansea one as well earlier on, but
maybe. But I mean, if that doesn't happen, we scrape a 1-0 win and all's forgiven. But
yeah.
But it was vital we put it right in the next game, and that's what it led to.
Well, yeah, I mean, coming after that next game was an international break, so it was, like you said, Dan, it was one of them that you know that with that around the corner, you want to be getting at least a positive performance and some kind of result under your belt. And looking back, I think we couldn't really have asked for a better opposition in Barnsley.
No.
Because it was literally kind of against boys, wasn't it?
Yeah, again, it was the perfect time to play a team, I think.
Yeah, it was madness against Barnsley. I mean, I remember going underneath at half time on the town end and speaking to saying, everyone was saying the same. Amount of chances Preston missed in the first half in that game was ridiculous. He should have been 3 or 4-0 up at half time. I mean, the keeper pulled off a couple of decent saves, but I mean, it was ridiculous, and everyone was saying, can't miss that many chances in the first half.
I wouldn't even say that he made that many good saves. I think Maguire's 2 clear-cut chances. He puts him 3 or 4 inches somewhere else, and they go in.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
He hit the target in that he hit the keeper bang on every time.
Yeah, it was sort of just a reaction save, wasn't it, from the keeper? It's straight at him, but he's done well to turn it around the post, not into the bottom corner, I guess. But yeah, the amount of chances we missed in that first half, thought it was going to come back and bite us, but we just went through the gears, didn't we, in the second half, and absolutely blew them away. They were terrible as well, to be fair.
Yeah, I think they were lucky to get that equaliser, to be honest. It was some pretty pants defending from the corner. And yeah, we were probably quite unfortunate to be going in level at half time. But
at half time, I was thinking it's pretty very, very similar vein to Middlesbrough in that we weren't really at our best, and we'd given a poor side away back into the game.
Yeah.
I think Neil's half-time talk probably even, I'd go so far as to predict that he would have said, "Don't let this be another drop 2 points," if you know what I mean. We seemed to come out second half, fresh vigour. As Pilk said, we went through the gears and ran away with it.
Yeah, I mean it's become a bit of a thing in the past. What sticks in my mind at deep there, obviously, we step our game up and play extremely well against the bigger teams, and if the lower teams, if you will, I know it's a bit of a stupid thing to say, but your Barnsleys, etc. We normally get into a bit of a dogfight with them at Deepdale and struggle against them. But like I say, in the second half, it wasn't a case of slip through the gears. Absolutely blew them away. But like I say, they were terrible Barnsley. They just crumbled, didn't they, as soon as the floodgates opened. So they got blew away. And
the manager got blown away after as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Probably not the best choice of words. Considering how the Borough game went, with an international break coming up, you couldn't have really asked for much more than a 5-1 win at home.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I bumped into John Parkin after the game, walking across the car park. And
I remember seeing something on your Instagram.
Yeah. I just, obviously just had this quick picture of him, but I said to him, I said, "John, what do you think of that there?" And obviously, I don't know how badly you're allowed to swear on the podcast, but he weren't happy with Barnsley's performance, put it that way. He was effing and blinding about it.
I think before we go into the rest of it, we'll call that part 1, boys.
All right.
Cool.
No worries.
Right, I'll see you in part 2. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of the From the Finney podcast. In this part of the pod, we're going to talk about the defeat away to Reading, the midweek draw at home to Leeds, and of course the comeback win against Blackburn Rovers. We'll get the shit bit out of the way first. It's not good, is it, Reading away recently?
No.
I think, is it 3 or 4 times we've gone away now and never won?
4 out of the last 5 we've lost at Reading.
Yeah, it's becoming a bit of a horrendous place for us to go to, isn't it? I went first game of the season about, 3 or 4 years ago when we had Garner and Beckford up front.
Yeah.
First game of the season, we had 17% possession and no shots on target. I got beat 1-0. So yeah, I don't want to go ever again after that.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Put me on. Yeah,
it's a long way to go as well, isn't it, really, once you get there, Berkshire?
Yeah, exactly. It's horrible.
I think this one in particular, though, I'm tempted to call it a write-off. It was just out of character, really bad performance. But
we were looking like we were heading to a 0-0 draw.
Yeah, but it would have been an undeserved 0-0 draw. It was a loss we fully deserved. It's just a question of when the goal came. It was just unfortunate. It was with the last kick of the fucking game,
and the way it came about as well.
Yeah.
Mr. Shithouse himself.
Yeah, just about to say what Dan said there. I mean, he's saying we were nearly going to get a point out of it, but from what I've seen and heard, we were absolutely not deserving of anything. So one of them. Yeah, move on, get it out of the way. It's gone.
Yeah.
What I think worried me in the aftermath was because I've been a North End fan for the 15 years that I've been capable of following football, and for all that time, it's just been. Usually after a performance like that, it tends to affect us for the next 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
In some way. So I thought, oh, here we go. I pictured that gif of the wheels coming off a wagon. I thought, oh no. But don't seem to have let it get us down.
No, I don't think we have. But I think we've shown this season quite a few, Swansea away, obviously Reading. We've shown that we're capable of bouncing back from results like that and getting something from the next games.
Well, no, definitely. I mean, the Championship is one of those leagues, isn't it? You can be expected to go away to a place and pick up all 3 points. You'll get turned over.
Was it Birmingham earlier on in the season? They played, I think, Brentford. and they won 1-0. It was a header from outside the box that ended up going in, and I think they had one of the lowest XGs of the season, and ended up winning 1-0.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like what you say. You're going to have these mad results, aren't you, in the Championship? Yeah. It's about if you can come back the next game and carry on your run that you were on before that anomaly of a result, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, I think it's safe to say Reading away is a bit of a bogey game for us now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Unless we're out of the league next year, I suspect it'll be a shit away following there next year.
Yeah, most definitely.
But yeah, I think players and the manager, I think, came out in the press after that and have said it's good that we've got a game pretty much straight after to turn it around, if you will. And obviously that came in not the easiest of tasks on paper, but again, footy's not played on paper. When Leeds came to Deepdale, and I think the first half, I think we matched them. I would say just.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've come on here just to talk about North End, but I think we need to spend a minute or two talking about Leeds. I mean, to watch live, I thought they were absolutely unbelievable. They press you so high up. Yeah. I mean, our centre halves had the ball on the edge of the 18-yard box, straight from the keeper, and they were under pressure within seconds. They couldn't even turn out and pass into the midfield. They were just constantly for the game, just being pressed. And
no, they were brilliant. They were really, really good to watch. Even though, again, going back to like we said about the Reading game, where arguably we didn't deserve anything from it, I think the Leeds game, they would have, if don't get me wrong, if we'd have won, I'd have been absolutely buzzing. But I think on the balance of play, a draw was probably a fair result.
Yeah, I think so.
As sickening as it was, take nothing away from Eddie Nketiah, because it was a brilliant finish with that header. I think, was it Bamford missed one earlier on in the second half where he had a shot that ended up going out for a throw-in where...
Yeah. Well, yeah, he missed. I think it was Bamford. He had 2 free headers in the first half in front of the town, and he should have scored. So they could have been out of sight by half time, maybe. But I don't know. It's just the chances they had. We had some good chances as well. The one that sticks in my memory was Brown's free kick. I think Maguire flicked it on it literally about an inch away from the back post. I mean, we had a couple of good chances, but yeah, I mean, you can maybe say we were good for a point. Others might say we were lucky for a point with how many chances Leeds missed. But yeah, it's one of those.
Good. I mean, obviously, any point against Leeds is a good point. But yeah, I think with it coming so late on, like what was it, 86th, 87th minute, something like that.
7th, I think.
Yeah.
It just felt a bit like a kick in the balls.
Especially after Reading at the weekend. It was a little bit of a kick in the teeth, but I suppose I'd have definitely taken it before the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Against Leeds.
Yeah.
I think on paper as well, you'd have probably flipped them 2 results around.
Yeah,
I'd taken them quite happily.
Yeah. You'd have probably looked at that and thought a draw or a win at Reading and then beat by Leeds. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I mean when they equalised, last 3 or 4 minutes of normal time, and then whatever was added on 3 or 4 minutes. So you're looking at 6, 7, 8 minutes. We were massively under the cosh, weren't we? They were just flow after flow of Leeds attack, and it were all hands on deck, weren't it, to get through to the full-time whistle then?
Yeah, well, apart from, as you mentioned, that chance that Maguire, I think should have done better with.
It's one of those that, I mean, it happens quite quickly. You just think, if only he'd thrown any part of his body at it.
But... Yeah, I suppose it's easier said than done, isn't it, when you're watching it?
Yeah,
it's like you say, Brown's free kick was it without much pace. You're just trying to help it on into the far corner, aren't you? Which I think he did get a little glance on it, but he's just not got quite enough on it to steer it into the corner. But yeah, it's one of the.
It's a case of milliseconds reaction time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then obviously, I don't think things could have got off to a much worse start on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first goal? Was it 22 seconds, something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, ridiculous. It was a terrible start, weren't it?
Earliest goal
2-0 in
this season.
Yeah, was it 2-0 inside 11 minutes or something?
Yeah, I think they scored the second in the 11th minute, didn't they?
Yeah, it was all looking gloomy, wasn't it?
Just a bit
down inside 11 minutes, and then that thing with Hughes at left centre back. I know he's trying to get the balance with a left foot and right foot centre half partnership, but you need to be starting Story there at centre half in the right position rather than a left back filling in at centre half. But
yeah.
Luckily, we didn't pay for it, did we?
He looked a bit ropey early on, didn't he? I think second half he got into the flow of things a bit more, but I think that was in part. Well, sorry, I think that was as much down to the performance of the team improving versus him improving individually.
I don't know how much they had to do in the second half. Really, Hughes and Bauer, we just dominated, didn't we? So I don't think. Maybe Hughes didn't improve much in the second half, but he didn't really have much to do. I mean,
that's what I mean. Like the performance of the rest of the team sort of took the pressure off him a little bit.
Well, second half we were pressing them so much higher. Every long ball they seemed to be playing up was obviously aimed at Sam Gallagher, and we put Bauer on him, and that was it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, don't want to keep going on about Hughes because obviously if he chose to play there by the manager, he's going to go out and play there. But I mean, he just looks positionally, particularly in the first half, he just looks out of position every time Rovers were coming forward. He just wasn't in the right place at the right time. He just.
I noticed a few times in the first half as well that he was pushing on almost as if he was playing as a fullback.
Yeah, it's like he forgot a couple of times.
Yeah, well, that's probably led to him being dragged out of position, like I say. But we don't need to go on too much about it. It didn't pay for it in the end. If we didn't.
I think
we've banged on about it.
I think it's worth noting as well that the manager, I think, has said afterwards that they were hopeful of Ben Davies playing. So I think they only actually started doing any kind of work with Hughes on the Friday in training.
Yeah.
So obviously this is North End. Fans are going to get on players' backs. Like I'm sure people listening to this think we do it about Stockley and Rudd, but
me, I'd never get on Rudd's back, Jake. Would I do that on Twitter?
You don't.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I know what you mean. No, there's got to be a bit of a scapegoat every week, but it's one of them.
I think
it's football.
Hughes can be cut a bit of slack. I think for the fact that
I think if he played out of position last minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
And in his time, his season and a bit that he's been here, he's done reasonably well, probably better than reasonably well at fullback.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned in my piece that I wrote about left backs that Greg Cunningham's about the biggest shoes you could fill in terms of importance at fullback, and Hughes has done superbly since he's come in. We can begrudge him. We can't begrudge him one poor game when he's being played out of position.
No, exactly.
No, definitely. No, I mean, listen, I'm always going to look at Hughes as a bit of a downgrade because obviously Cunningham was one of the best fullbacks I've seen at North End in all my time watching them. So I'm always going to look at Hughes thinking, he's not got forward as quick as Cunningham would have done, etc., etc. But he's solid enough, isn't he? He's solid enough.
Yeah, defensively, I think him and Fisher last season defensively were up there amongst the top fullbacks in the league. I think Hughes had a ridiculous percentage of not losing an aerial duel last season.
He is just silly in the air.
Which considering he's not overly tall, he's
5'9", isn't he? I think.
Yeah, 5'10", 5'11", something like that. He's not massive, but he's obviously got a bloody good leap on him. But yeah, I think just going back to Rovers on Saturday, I mentioned it in the pod that went out on Monday morning that I think the two standout players for me at half time, and obviously there wasn't many to choose from because of how bad we were, but I think Fisher and Maguire were the two that could have gone off holding their heads high.
Yeah.
I thought Fisher was constantly an outlet on that side, getting up and down the pitch, offering something. Because going forward, we looked like we had absolutely nothing. And then Maguire, for me, was the other one in terms of his not necessarily his tracking and going with players, but trying to get us moving and get us moving higher up the pitch. You could sense his frustration almost. I think there was a couple of times I remember him dropping back into midfield, sometimes even dropping back into our half, picking up the ball, turning and dragging us almost back up the pitch. And even though he's not really got the goals so far this season, I think that
he's still been one of our key players.
Yeah, it sums his overall play up for me this season. I think overall he's been one of our key players.
He's won something ridiculous, like 4 of our penalties as well, hasn't he, Maguire?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you say there, Jake, you came off half time and you could only say 2 people, could hold 2 players hold their heads up high. I mean, I think you've been a generous there. Absolutely dross that first half.
To be honest, I'm happy to take your word for it because I was watching through my fingers after the second goal.
Oh, mate, I couldn't draw any positives from that first half from at all. No, thought we were all an absolute disgrace. But it's a changing point of that game. One of the changing points of that game is Stockley coming on.
Absolutely.
That's what I mean, though. It's strange, though. It's Neil signing. He can't get anywhere near the squad, but then he came on Saturday and he completely changed the game. So he needs to be involved, surely, after that.
Well, it was only in the second half, really, wasn't it? He couldn't really drop a bag of cement in the first half.
We've covered Stockley a little bit in the same sense you've sort of alluded to there, Pilks. I think the phrase you used last week was "one swallow does not a summer make," wasn't it, Jake?
Mm.
And I think
used it quite a few times. I don't think I've ever said that as much in my life as I had in that 24 hours.
Tell different people about Stockley. But yeah, we've always said that we think that there'll be certain situations in certain games that will really suit him. But I don't think the second half against Rovers will be reason enough just stick him in the first team for say Charlton away.
Well, I don't know. I just think he offers something different, particularly with Moult being out now. I mean, who have we got in the squad that's an out-and-out striker? You've got Nugent and Maguire, and maybe Maguire's not classed as an out-and-out striker anymore because he can be used out wide.
Yeah, Maguire's been so much better out on the left.
Well, exactly, that's what I mean. So going back to the original point, that with Moult out injured, the options you've got up there are limited.
Yeah.
So, Stockley offers you that aerial threat and the strength up there. So I think he does have to be in there somewhere. So
he'll be in the squad, I've no doubt. But I don't think his performance or his second half performance on Saturday, I don't think that justifies him starting the game on Sunday.
No. I'm not on about him starting. I mean, on the he has to be on the bench.
I think he will.
Been on the bench.
Yeah, he will. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he has to be involved on Saturday because he just offers something that none of our other current strikers that are fit do. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I don't disagree with that one bit, but I mean, I think I wrote it in something over the weekend, or maybe I said it on the pod. I can't remember, but the last time I remember seeing Stockley play like he did in the second half against Rovers was the first game that he played for us after he signed.
Was that QPR away?
Yeah.
No, it was a home.
No, it was at Deepdale, weren't it? I remember.
I can't remember who we played, but
I can't remember who we played.
QPR away was his first goal, wasn't it?
Yes, I think it was. But that game at home, he was up and down the pitch. Basically, it was 60, 70 minutes of what he did on Saturday afternoon for 45. Yeah. And that is probably the last time I remember him doing so well.
Yeah.
So he's shown on 2 occasions in nearly 12 months that he can do it. He's just got to be more consistent and not be a stroppy bastard like he's looked like he has been, especially this season.
I mean, when we've talked about his attitudes, for lack of a better word, before, it's been not a question of commitment to the club at all. It's just been he seems to spend so much time moaning about being pushed in the back by defenders, being pulled down.
Yeah.
If he just got on with it, because I mean, we mentioned on the pod that we think he just got on with it on Saturday because we had a massive job to do.
Yeah, I suspect there was a few choice words at half time.
I don't think we'd be criticising him as much.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things with is like Stockley. When I say players like Stockley, I mean what they offer you, the sort of strength and the throwing themselves into defenders and trying to win flick-ons and stuff. I think if they're not performing and stuff isn't going for them, they do look useless. If you know what I mean, they don't look like they're offering anything.
Yeah.
But when they are being effective and they are winning the flick-ons and they are getting in the way of centre halves and making a nuisance of themselves, they look ultra effective. So I think one of his problems when he's going through quiet spells, he looks useless, but he offers us something that no one.
Oh yeah, he does. And I think the other thing in Stockley's defence, kind of, if you will, maybe a little tiny bit, and I can't believe I've just said that. But when he's played this season, he doesn't seem to have had the support that he had in the second half on Saturday in terms of people getting in close to him and winning those knockdowns and winning the second balls.
I think that comes with chasing a game.
Yeah, I think it does. And I think the other thing, again, we mentioned it in the pod on Monday, I think the other thing that helped him on Saturday afternoon was, I don't know if Neil told him to do it, if it was something that he's just taken upon himself to do, but he sort of peeled off more toward Derek Williams, who was playing left centre-back, who was a lot smaller than him. He's like Hughes, he was a left-back by trade playing left centre-back, because in the first half up against Adarabio, he, like I said, for those 15 minutes, he just looked like you're just thinking, why has he brought him on?
I'm gonna say, Jay, you're not getting away with that pronunciation. Then who do you just say then? Say that again.
Adarabio.
That's how you say it, isn't it?
I'm not too sure. I'm not going to have a go at saying it, but I don't know about that, Jay.
That's always how I've said it.
I'm trying to do it in my head now before I embarrass myself and it comes out of my mouth. But that's shaky, that, Jake.
the stadium announcer absolutely slaughtered
it. Yeah, he will have done. He'll just guess. Tosin Adar. I can't, man.
Yeah.
Adarabio,
I think it is.
Tosin Adarabio.
Do you know what? Ollie told me a couple of years ago, because you know Ollie's the biggest Man City fan in the world. He was like, "There's this lad at Man City we should be looking at." And I took one look at his name and I said, half of our fans still can't fucking spell Maguire right. So
yeah.
No, it's one of them, and we have to get Ollie to pronounce it. He's a City super fan, isn't he? So he'll be able to tell you his date of birth, his mum's maiden name, and how he pronounced their family name as well.
Yeah, where he grew up.
Yeah,
where he was born.
Yeah, he can give you a little profile next week as a punishment for not coming on this week.
Just calling him out on here is enough.
Well, it won't be. To be honest, asking him to list things he loves about City players will not be a punishment for him at all.
No, it won't. Yeah, so I think we've covered Rovers enough there. Before we finish, Player of the Month?
I think got to cover Rovers a little bit again and say Tom Barkhuizen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't disagree with Dan, really. You got to go with Barkey, haven't you? But I mean, what I wanted to touch on before we ended it as well was my player of the month, season, definitely. I'm not sure about this month in particular, but is Bauer. I mean, I think he's absolutely. We were screaming out for someone like him, an experienced, centre half to come in and sit next to Davis and Storey. Yeah. He's slotted in absolutely perfectly, and I think he's one of the first names on the team sheet now.
I love him.
Yeah, exactly. He looks like he's been at the heart of that defence for years as well. He looks so settled and like he's been there for ages, but obviously he's only arrived in the summer.
That's I think that's one of the standout things for me about him is that he just looks so settled.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he looks like he's been there for years, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got a young family. He's moved up here from London, so it's not like he's moved around the corner from like Wigan or somewhere like that. Yeah. And for him to have come in and had the impact that he's had, I think in no small part is our league position a coincidence with him playing.
No, definitely. I mean, I can't get my head round him being a Bosman. I mean, if he was leaving Charlton because of wages, surely you'd do everything you can and stretch your budget to make someone like him stay. He's been unbelievable since he's come in. He's been
they're a bit of a basket case club, though, aren't they, at the minute, Charlton?
Yeah, possibly. But I mean, I don't know. You getting promoted into the Championship, do you risk losing?
Well, I think
the heart of your defence over.
I think their owner's not really arsed. I think he's quite open about the fact that he wants to sell the club.
Mm.
All right, fair enough. So that's probably that's the issue then. Isn't it? Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not complaining. If you've got anyone else like that, then send them up here.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think for October, I don't think you can look past Barkey, to be honest. He's scored 4 in his last 5. He's got 5 in the league so far, 7 in all competitions. And he had a bit of a funny start to the season. Obviously, he had his injury, which I think he missed maybe, 2 or 3 games with that. But even early doors, it looked like the manager was sort of not betting on, but he was more. He preferred the look of Maguire and Bowden early doors. Obviously, didn't help with Malt's injury and whatnot, but yeah, I think credit to Barkey. You know, he's done what he's done this month and what he's done so far this season, and there's an element of him having played out position as well.
Yeah. I think the performance that really solidified him in the team was Stoke. I know he didn't get a goal that game, but the way he chased everything from... Because that was the first time we used him as a lone striker, wasn't it?
Mm.
And I think that just really confirmed in Alex Neil's mind that he was a player that we could use anywhere across the front 4, if you like.
Yeah.
Maybe not at Cam, but... or number 10, as you like to call it. But otherwise... I think he's shown that he's a bit of a utility man in terms of the attack line. So that's sort of made sure that we're trying to fit him in now.
Yeah, I mean, I think he can offer, like I say, he can offer something in any position in the front 3. But I mean, personally, I prefer him out wide because I just think when he gets the ball at his feet and he knocks it past the fullback, he's beating 9 out of 10 fullbacks in the Championship for pace all day, every day. He's
see Pearson's goal against Barnsley.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I just read something online before. I mean, Sheffield United fans are giving Robinson a bit of stick because they're playing him more centrally. I can't get my head around that. They bought him because of how done he's well at Preston, and all the joy he's had at Preston is playing sort of out wide, cutting in, if you know what I mean. That's where he scored all his goals. So, I don't know. I just think it's best just to, if someone's playing extremely well in a position, keep him in that position. Don't start messing around with it too much, maybe. I don't know. We don't get paid thousands, do we, as managers? But, you know, as a spectator, you know what I mean? If someone's doing something well, leave them to do it well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like the back part of our front 4, if you will, like the 3 in behind whoever's playing in the centre forward position. We've done pretty well this season with we have done well this season with DJ in the 10, Maguire on the left, and Barkey on the right. And the games where we've not looked as well is when DJ has dropped out of that 10 position.
And we've tried to fiddle with it.
And we've tried to mess with it, and we've tried to maybe shoehorn Alan Brown in there, or, I don't know, maybe Maguire in there with Barkey on one side and Harrop on the other, or Bowden and Harrop, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And, you know, like you say, Pilks, if it's going well, just don't mess with it.
Yeah, I know you got to experiment now and again in case you have an injury crisis. You need someone to have sort of a second position, if you will, in case you need to fill in. But I mean, we touch wood, we've not really had that this season. I don't really like seeing Barkhausen being started as a lone striker because, like I keep saying, his main strength is running at people and is frightening them with his pace. So keep him there and keep him doing what he's doing, because, like Dan said, he's standout player this month and player of the month for most fans. So just let him do what he does best and keep playing out wide.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think unless you two have got anything else, we can call that a podcast, boys.
All right, no worries.
Good.
Yeah, so thanks for listening to episode 20 of the From the Finney podcast. As we say, pretty much at the end of every pod, we're widely available on all different streaming platforms. So you can find us, follow us, subscribe to us on whichever one you use. If you can't find us, tweet us and let us know. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Just search for From the Finney. You should find us, follow us and say hello. If you like what Pilks had to say, you can give him a follow on Twitter. Just search for @Pilks1990 and give him a little follow. Whether he accepts you or not is another one.
I don't know. I'm not too sure.
If you fancy coming on the pod next month to talk about November, then just slide into our DMs on Twitter and we can work something out. Cheers, boys. Thanks for that. Much appreciated.
Cheers, Dan.
That's going on, Pilks.
Cheers. No worries. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Cheers, boys.